Previously on Wine Wars.
Get your hands off my wine! I am way too hungover for that volume.
Okay.
If we're doing a Super Tuscan, it can be a super episode.
These are not
Super Tuscans.
Never mind.
All right. Are we going to pod or?
We can pod.
We've already podded.
Either shit or get off the pod.
Wine Wars, the show with four friends who love three things: wine and Star Wars.
Welcome to Wine Wars. You're joining the four of us as we sniff, sip, and talk about wine live from our basement in Madison, Wisconsin. And I'm your excellent host and spectator. And with me, as always, are Amy.
Hey, Ann.
And Scott.
Hello.
And Jason.
Hi, Wine Warriors.
Oh, that's nice.
Aw, changing it up.
More like wine Padawans, right?
Yeah. Like, we're not even good enough that we would have survived Anakin's attack on all the children when he got super pissed off in episode 3. Mm-hmm. We couldn't have helped defend them.
No.
Like, when you say warriors, I just think that's how we view ourselves in our mind. But in reality, we're like that video of the kid on YouTube with the lightsaber going to town.
In the garage.
Yeah.
Have you seen this?
No.
You've never seen this?
No.
Arrested Development did a whole bit about it.
Yeah. Remember Michael Cera? They had it like... Michael
He's
Cera
in his garage with it's his broom.
Yeah.
That was a real thing from the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't
It was
realize.
an early...
That was before YouTube even.
Early viral
Was
video.
it before YouTube?
Oh, yeah. That was late 90s.
I suppose like all the gamers were passing that around.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is probably how that
Okay,
happened.
Are we going to post it? We'll post it.
Sure.
We should.
The other thing, post-Avengers last night, which I'll talk about later, is I saw the first poster in a movie theater for The Force Awakens.
Wow.
And it was all lit up, and I was walking past, and I was like, it was so cool.
They probably have a hidden camera on it just to capture people like you.
Yeah. It was nothing to the poster. It just said Star Wars, The Force Awakens.
Oh.
What more do they need
December.
to say? Nothing.
Yeah, it looked like the scroll.
It could be black. How much more black could it be? None. None more black. Be fine.
None more black.
Mm-hmm. Not darker than the dark side.
So we need to focus on wine, really. And tonight's going to be fun because we're doing Cabernet Sauvignon. And we have 3 really fun wines picked out for you. And I think we should just start by talking about Cabernet the grape. What can we expect from this delightful little gem?
I will say that Cabernet was, I think, the first wine that I really got. And it is like, when I think of red wine, Cabernet. Bar. I want to drink
It's a warrior.
Yeah, it's big, good fruit, and it depends on where it's from.
Very versatile.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely Cabernet Sauvignon is a wine that, like, for my history, is like one that I knew when I went to restaurants in my early 20s. Like, I'll have that one because it couldn't pronounce anything else, so I'll stick to that one. So I think and that might be similar to a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a very well-known.
Your choice is always Cab or Merlot. And in my head, anyway, I back then thought, well, you're not supposed to ever order Merlot.
Because of Sideways.
Because of the movie Sideways.
But even before Sideways, I remember people saying, oh, you don't want Merlot, it's too dry. Which, we now know is complete BS. It's just cheap Merlot, like any bad wine is bad wine. But, so I always order Cab.
Right.
We'll have to cover Merlot in depth in the future so that we can help dispel that myth. Mm-hmm. But for tonight, Cabernet.
Left banking.
Cabernet was originally offshoot of a Cab Franc.
Other way around.
That's not what I read, buddy.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Cab Franc and Sauvignon Blanc.
Mm-hmm. It's a hybrid.
Well, cross-pollinated. Created Cabernet
But I
Sauvignon.
don't understand that.
So, you have the 2 vines in region.
No, I get the science.
When a vine loves another vine.
The stork comes.
Yes.
No, it doesn't taste
with
like
half
a
case of wine in his
Sauvignon
beak.
Blanc or a Cab Franc at all.
Well,
So it just came up with its own completely different.
Those are the parents, and this is the child grape of those parents.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the same way humans, take on some characteristics of their parents. The same thing with the grapes, but they're never going to be the exact same.
It's really different.
Well, describe why you think they're different.
Well, Cab Franc's really light and fruity, and Sauvignon Blanc is white and light and fruity. And then Cabernet can be, like I'm saying, like a warrior. It can be big and badass.
Very often, though, you'll get a cross-pollination of a red and a white grape and have offshoots.
All right.
But that's what this is. But it was in the 1600s. So
Okay.
it's grown up a lot. And where it gets planted, it's just going to change over time, right?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know it's true. I still taste it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. No one's going to argue that with me. Okay.
Yes, we're not going to argue that you don't taste it.
You've been married long enough to know
Good
not to go into
choice. Good choice.
Go for it.
Friends and husband. So it has big, thick skin.
Big, thick skin.
Oh, good segue.
We already got our first hashtag.
Yeah. All right. Doing it.
Hardy vines, and so it's kind of easy to cultivate, and that's partly why you see it everywhere. And I think that I've heard that it has a bit of a reputation as being a colonizer. Like it sells well, it grows well, so it can displace native vines that are more finicky or difficult to grow.
Oh my God. It's like the hot guy in the football team.
Displacing young vines?
Get out of my way.
Wait.
Sorry.
And it buds late, usually after the frost, so they don't have to worry about that too.
So it's tough.
It's tough.
Tough.
It ripens
Like,
late in
bring
the
it
season.
on.
It's very high yield. And what I think is weird is that it's not a cheap grape. So you think higher yield would mean, well, there's plenty of it, so the cost would be lower on it. But to get a good Cabernet is not a cheap deal. If you get a Napa Cab, it can easily be a $60 cab for
more.
a good, for like a mid-range Cabernet.
So then maybe you're looking at what kind of lineage did that grape come from?
I think it's the ability of the winemaker and the brand status. I think is where it comes down to.
Okay. Maybe real estate too.
Yeah. Better vineyards.
Well, I used to always say, I've said this in other podcasts, where it's not so much the grape that dictates what it's going to taste like as much as the region. And now, after doing the research for this episode, I'm kind of like, throw that out the window, because even that doesn't mean anything. When it comes to Cab, the winemaker themselves can put their fingerprint on it so much. It's basically a complete freaking free-for-all at this point.
There's
It all matters. Vintage.
there's an unlimited number of variables in winemaking, from the terroir, the weather of that year, the methods that they use for to limit their yield or whatever, and then the vintner's techniques. It's ridiculous how much variation you have. That's why every glass of wine tastes different.
Yep.
It really intimidates me about how much wine there is to learn about wine, because
And it's weird that we have a few cases of wine, and it can be the same vintage of the wine, and it might have been two different cases of wine, and one was stored one way, one was stored a different way.
Sure.
And same vintage, same winery, same bottle of wine,
But this
essentially.
one was
and
kept 5 degrees different.
Yeah.
Yep. Temperature control, vibrations, if it's stored near the sunlight, all these things can impact
the
how
way
the
it
wine
lives
ages.
in the bottle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You think that stuff, all that
complicated.
nerd stuff is BS, but it's true.
Science. Science!
Yeah.
So when you're storing wine, because we did have a gentleman on Twitter ask a question about it needing to settle, and because he flew it from Arizona to England, and so it should rest for a while. I'm guessing that you don't want a lot of vibration anywhere near your storage area.
It depends. Yeah. So when that happens, so a lot of wines will have so when they say on the label may contain sulfites, so that's a byproduct of the wine production technique. At the bottom of a bottle of wine, lots of times you'll find little bits of grit. Not pleasant to drink, I'll tell you that.
They're kind of bitter, right?
Yeah. It's typically it's going to be the sulfites are from, if they use sulfur dioxide that they are. I think that's what it is, that to use for a clarification technique. Some of it might just be leftover bits of like tannin from the stems and things like that in the grape skins. But yeah, as you shake up the bottle, all that gets mixed up into the wine, the particulates. So you want to let them settle to the bottom so you're not drinking that.
Yeah.
And also taking it on planes, you have altitude changes, so there's a different in air pressure on the wine and the cork, so you have a lot of variables there.
Definitely don't want to drink that right away.
No, I mean, but give it a few weeks. It should be okay in a few weeks.
Do you think that I should stop twerking on our wine?
What do you do?
Sometimes I
when
just
we're
like
not here?
get up, I just sort of back the thing up, and then I twerk on it a little.
Is that why it's all
Dusty.
no longer dusty? Put a little feather in your bum.
Yeah,
Dust all the wine.
I don't know if there's any Wine Spectator articles on twerking wine yet. So
They should probably tweet me direct at @spectator and get me to guest column that.
I'm seeing like a mashup of a Bubbles episode and that song Bubble Butt. That's what I'm seeing right now.
That's great. Maybe we'll record that and get that up on the site.
Yeah, get our intern Steve-O.
So, discussing the variations, so we have 3 different wines from 3 different regions of the world. So we have California, Chile, and Australia as well. But the grape does originate from Bordeaux, France.
Yes.
We just didn't have one right now. We'll do separate episodes on Bordeaux specifically. So
Yeah, we purposely avoided that tonight. We wanted to go straight cab.
And so I guess I'll start because I think Cabernet Sauvignon is probably most popular in Napa Valley, as California Cab is kind of a thing.
very much what it's known for.
Yeah. And we didn't get a Napa Valley Cab. We went north of Napa and right outside of Mendocino County. And we got a 2012 High Valley Vineyard. And it was kind of interesting. It goes to maybe I'm learning something in the world. Was when I smelled this, I felt like I had similar wine. And what it reminded me of was a Brassfield. And we had bought a case in the past of Brassfield Eruption. And it turns out that
Eruption.
yeah,
Like that Van Halen song?
and here's why it's called Eruption. Is in this part of Lake County, it's on a dead volcano, a dormant volcano called the Road Mountain Volcano, and so there's it's really rocky volcanic soil. So the Eruption is a poignant name for that one.
I get it.
And Brassfield, Dustin Brassfield is the guy who started this winery. So he broke off from the home, bought this vineyard in 1999, planted it. I think he's since sold it to some different people, but they would first couple of vintages they produced it in Brassfield, and then he found a different place to make the wine. But it was interesting to me, like that you could I could kind of get that red volcanic soil from it.
You have good wine memory.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
impresses
I mean,
me.
that surprised me.
Well, that's not the first time you've been able to do that.
So Brassfield was that the name of the other winery?
Yeah.
As well? Okay.
Yeah, Brassfield wines are a very good brand, and I didn't actually know that they were from Lake County, but yeah, very. I really like this wine. I think it's pretty representative of a California Cabernet, which is a fruit on the fruity side, black cherries. I got kind of a little bit of it's a lot of black cherries, but it's a nice silky, nicely balanced Cabernet.
Silky is a great adjective for it.
It made me salivate so hard that I was taking notes up when I took my first sip, and I almost dripped saliva on my paper.
Wow.
It was kind of gross.
So very high acid.
I guess so.
Yep.
It's 14.5% alcohol. It's 85% Cab, 5% Syrah, and 10% Petite Syrah. One thing I was not, I was doing a lot of research today, and I was going through old wine spectators to see how, like 2008, 2009, 2010, like 2010 California Cab is, especially in Napa, was an outstanding vintage, and I didn't see how 2012 rated. My guess is it's not a spectacular vintage of wine.
I heard 11 was cooler, too.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that's weird about this is the vineyard that this is on is, I think it's north-south facing, and so it gets this really cool off the lake there. It gets really cool
The air.
air, yeah. So it's a cooler region for cab. So
All right.
that does it for Jason.
How much did that run?
100,000.
I think he got ripped off.
Oh,
Yeah, you paid
What?
too much.
what was it? $17.99.
$16.99.
$16.99. And like I said, a California cab can easily be in a $25 range for a basic bottle. So I think this is decent for $16.99. I would
Yeah.
drink it.
So this one's far more jammy than the others. You can definitely get that California aspect of it when you smell it and drink it.
Yeah.
Like just smelling the 3 that we have tonight, I knew California right off the bat.
Yeah.
And then I tasted it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely California.
That's one of the things that when we drink wine, it's kind of, we get real focused on one place. And it's what's been really nice about this podcast, doing, like, when we focus on a grape, getting these different regions of it's like, wow, it's a different animal.
So different.
Yeah.
I love the finish on this one.
It's very, very pleasant, very easy to drink. Not super complex. It's straightforward. It's straightforward fruity cab. So.
Yeah. And I'll just be really honest here. I bought it at the grocery store.
Oh.
Hy-Vee grocery store.
So say the name, High Valley Vineyard. Take a look for it at your grocery store.
Yeah, you will be looking for a label that is pretty simple. It's like an off-white with a little pencil drawing of a couple of trees.
With some high people on a mountain.
We'll have pictures of all these on our website. Go to winewarspodcast.com and we'll put up some pictures of it. So.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll jump over to Australia. So I have a 2012 as well. All the wines we're drinking today are 2012. So this is a Jim Barry is the producer. The name of this wine is the Cover Drive, and this had a really cool label to it. So it's got like a colonial, I would say this is like a colonial English kind of
He's a cricket player.
cricket player, yeah. And the reason behind that, so I was looking into this wine and the producer. So this is vineyards from the Coonawarra region of Australia, and the producer Jim, my friend Jim, this Coonawarra region is highly sought after in Australia. It's only like 9 miles by 1 mile, very small, specific part of the country that has they call it terra rosa. So all the soil there is like crumbly red soil. And underneath that is limestone bedrock, and then under that is a reservoir, water reservoir. So it's really well designed for Cabernet Sauvignon. But in the region, it's really highly sought after. So if land pops up that's available, people jump on it really quick.
Sure.
So there used to be a cricket field in that region that they sold off, and he bought that and then planted vineyards all in that cricket
Oh,
field.
so his label is paying homage to the land.
Yep. So if you go to his website, they actually have a picture of that vineyard and the cricket, I don't know what they call it, the little station where they stand, and there's a pole and I don't know how that ridiculous game works.
Like the equivalent of a dugout?
No, it's like the home plate in baseball.
Oh, okay.
That's still sitting there. So
That's cool.
Coonawarra.
yeah, so it's
Part of Australia.
So that's the southern part of Australia. It is about 250 miles south of Adelaide. What is that? Australia's cut into 5 sections. So it's like essentially dead center south.
Oh, okay.
And so the location there, is considerably cooler than most of Australia because it's on the southern part of the country. So it's about 50 miles from the coast. So you get that maritime air coming in. And that's coming right off the Arctic. So you get a lot of cool air coming into that area. So again, frost is an issue there as well, like you said with yours.
In Australia?
Southern Australia, yep. Mm-hmm. So frost is an issue in spring and then rain in the late fall when they're harvesting. So it could be very treacherous weather there as well.
And sharks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Land sharks,
Yeah.
which
Bummer,
I guess those would be lions, land sharks.
Or kangaroos? No.
No. I don't know if anyone's ever been killed by a kangaroo.
Oh, they can kick.
Yeah, they're kickers.
Yep.
But all right. So if you get in a kickboxing match with a kangaroo,
Yeah.
but that's your own fault.
about
Coonawarra. How do you say it?
So it's Coonawarra. C-O-O-N.
Now, how do you say it in Australian?
Coonawarra.
There we go.
You?
Oh, nice.
C-O-O-N-A-W-A-R-R-A.
Double R.
Double R.
That's right.
Coonawarra. So Australia is historically known for Shiraz, aka Syrah, same grape. We'll deal with that in a different episode. Jason hates it. It'll be fun to do.
It will be fun.
You know what?
We'll torture
Shiraz. I've had really good Shirazes from Australia that I've been turned.
Maybe you've just had a couple bad Syrahs.
But maybe I've had lots of Shiraz. I mean, Syrah on the spectrum are the biggest, and maybe I'm just.
They're pretty bold, yeah.
They're not.
Maybe just
they're not
save
mine.
it for the Syrah episode.
The Syrah episode?
Okay, you
Yeah,
can
don't
just
have a mantrum right now.
You're having a mantrum.
You can't turn that one on
just
me.
Focus on your cab.
So anyway, Syrah kind of historically was what Australia was used for until the 60s when it was discovered that Cab really thrived in this region. So in Australia, as well as a wine-producing country, wasn't really well respected until about the 70s. Then they kind of turned their stuff around. They're really modern technology. Everything's automated. So it's a Gen Xer. This one's not a millennial.
Woo!
All right, Gen X.
Mm-hmm.
Reality bites.
Suck it, millennials.
So yeah, this 2012 was an extraordinary year for this region of Australia. 06 was the earliest year that they ever had to do their harvest because of the temperature. It was so warm they had to harvest earlier. And 2013, wait, is that what? 2013 was the earliest harvest ever, and 2006 was the latest. Excuse me, I had that backwards. So even only in like 7 years' time, they had wild variations in the weather. So again,
Global warming.
no
have
proof
an
of
eyebrow
how
raised.
science works.
Or El Nino.
Can't imagine what that could be.
So
Which in Spanish means
the
the
Nino.
Nino.
So yeah, again,
learning.
just points out to how the winemakers really got to stay on top of things with the grapes. So
Yeah.
so anyway, let's taste this. What do we all think about it?
I really like this one.
I do as well. So this is it's a bit more complex than your California. To me, it's still got a little bit of jam to it, but there's a cracked pepper and that kind of typical a little bit green pepper as well that you get with the Cab.
I was getting like a tobacco, which I don't normally get. Tobacco and green pepper were the two notes that I had on this one, but I think it's lower alcohol.
13.5.
Yeah, and the California style of Cab making would be way higher alcohol. So this is kind of a pleasant variation to my palate, if you will, sir.
So that higher alcohol content, how you get that in your wines is essentially having the larger sugars in the grapes when they're harvested. So the later you harvest, the more sugars you have. The warmer the region, the more sugars you'll have. So you get more higher alcohol content.
So
Let me throw this at you.
Okay.
I'm getting sun-dried tomato.
So
I get that.
would this flavor profile suggest that it was probably harvested earlier in the season?
Because it's less jammy?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
And lower alcohol.
Vegetable.
It kind of
Or maybe
depends.
just a cooler year.
So, right, there's lots of variations in that, which leads us to today's Wine Words Word Dejour.
What's the Wine Wars Word Dejour?
We have an intro for that.
Okay.
Let's play it.
Let's let's insert.
Honey, why don't you go ahead and insert?
I'll try. Sometimes I get slapped.
And that brings us to today's Wine Wars Word Dejour.
Wine Wars Word Dejour? What's that?
Why, that's the Wine Wars Word of the Day.
Why, that's the bee's knees.
So today's Wine Words Word Dejour is Pyrazine. Pyrazine. What that is basically an aromatic organic compound that is found in wine and lots of other food products as well. So what it is it's what produces that vegetal, that green pepper scent and flavor in your wine. So not all grapes really have this be out front as much as these do. So it's really kind of the Bordeaux family that is known for this. So that the Cab Franc, Sauvignon Blanc, and the Cabernet Sauvignon. So genetically, they're
That's
very
true.
attuned to this. Right. That's why I said it.
Oh, it's like evidence.
Science.
You're right.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
It's similar to evidence.
That is
I'm so
interesting.
shocked about your correctness about that.
So this chemical compound is more prevalent in your grapes earlier in their ripening season. So prior to their, what's the word for it? Where is it? There it is. That's what I'm looking for. Veraison. Prior to veraison, which is kind of when the ripening of the grapes begins.
This sounds like a whole new Wine Wars Word du jour.
Yeah,
It's a
it does.
subword du jour.
Oh,
I had
sub
a
word
friend
du
who
jour.
just
What's
had
that?
a Veracion.
Yeah.
No more kids for him.
Oh.
So prior to the veraison of the grapes, you have a lot more concentration of the pyrazine in the grapes and in the stems as well. So kind of as they age, kind of similar to how as acidity subsides and the sugars become more prevalent in the grapes as they age. Same thing with this pyrazine. It kind of tears off as it gets older. However, not just age are influences in the prevalence of this in your wine. So it could have to do with the temperature of the season. So the warmer the season, the less you'll have of it. The water level of it. So the less water, the more you'll have of it. The maturity level of grapes, which we already talked about, and the pruning technique. So this is really interesting. So there was a study by UC Davis, and I'll put a link up on our website because there's a ton of information here that you'll be able to nerd out on this if anyone does, because Anne's already drifted off from my discussion.
What?
Exactly.
A lot of words.
So
in
UC
a
Davis
row.
went through this study where they did a bunch of tests. So they would take vineyards and they would control the production volume of these vines through two ways. One is cutting down the number of buds that were allowed to be produced in the spring, and two is allowing those buds to grow, but then cutting back the
Stems.
the groupings. Yep. The what's the word? What's the word?
Clumps?
Clumps.
Clunches?
Clusters. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. The clusters of grapes. So through the study, they discovered that if you let all the buds grow and then cut back the clusters, it doesn't really make a big impact on the level of the pyrazine in the grapes. If you control the number of buds, so the less buds you have, the more concentration of pyrazine you have. So depending on how the producer wants to make their wine taste, they have this as an option. They can go into their vineyard early in the year before the wines have begun to become more sugary and cut back on the buds, or excuse me, before the buds even produce grapes, cut back on the number of buds.
So I would say I'm pro more bud.
So you like jam? No, you do like jam?
You like more jam.
I prefer less green pepper.
Yeah.
Okay, so you would want less control of the buds, yes.
I was mostly making a bud joke, but that is true. I prefer less green pepper.
Okay.
And I read the exact same thing was winemakers will make a choice and kind of direct many years of a vintage based on like we're going to choose to do it this way, and this is our new style of doing it.
Right.
And that's how they'll control that.
Right, so when we're talking about the Australian one having that green peppery taste, it could have to do when they harvested it, could have to do with the number of buds on the vine, could have to do with the temperature. There's so many variations to it. That's why the winemaker really has to be on top of their game and think ahead of what they want their wine to taste like.
Seems like a way harder job than you would think.
Yeah, you just grow some grapes and step on them. A little bit more to it.
Not that.
So, and then the vinification, the actual production of the wine, so taking it from grapes and putting it into the wine status, it really didn't have too much of an impact. It pretty much all had to do with the growing season and how that impacts the prevalence of today's word du jour, pyrazine.
Pyrazine.
Ask your doctor if pyrazine's right for you.
Arr.
Side effects may include awesome good times.
Do you guys like the green pepper?
I do. This is not overbearing in
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
And-
if it was really in your face,
It
I might
tastes
not be so enthusiastic, but I really like this Australian wine.
To me, it actually comes off as a more refined, more balanced wine with not as jammy, more of this level.
It's got that complexity, little jam, little spice, little green pepper to
Yeah.
it. I like it.
It
I
tastes
a
like a
lot.
side garden salad.
Ooh. Are there croutons on that salad?
I do like it. I didn't mean to say I didn't like any green pepper. I appreciate that it's there.
Yeah. Seems like a good wine. How much was this?
This was $19.89.
So that's the most expensive wine we're drinking tonight.
About $20, yep.
Where did you get it?
Steve's.
Oh.
Obviously.
Sorry.
Which Steve's?
The one over by you guys. We were over in this part of town.
Steve's with Randy and Jessica.
So they've selected
help us.
2 of our wines this evening, both unbeknownst to the other.
Oh. One day they will make the connection.
Uh-huh.
And then they'll say, hey, that was a thing.
Something occurred.
So what did you get from Steve's, Anne?
So I picked up a Pe&ntilde from Chile, and it's also a 2012. and it came in at $16.99.
Can you spell that for our listeners?
Sure. It's P-E-N with a finger on top of it.
Enye.
The wavy finger.
I call it an anus.
A P-E-N finger, A-L-O-L-E accent finger, N.
We should go to college again.
Peñalolin.
Anne speaks French, so.
There are words for that, but I feel like it's, you know what I mean when I say finger.
Peñalolin.
Right. So this is from the Maipo Valley of Chile, and it is southern but central, if you're with me.
So Chile is a very
long,
as in north to south country.
Right. So if you went straight to the center, it would be below that, but not southern.
Right.
Okay. And there's a lot of different wine regions in that area, and the Maipo is not right up against the ocean, but close. It's close to the Pacific, and then it does butt up against the Andes Mountains. So it was a winery that was founded by Ricardo Peña and his wife Isabel, and a few years into it, they hired a French winemaker named Jean Pastel Lazé.
Are we noticing a theme here?
So it's a thing that these French winemakers are coming to Chile to show off what they've learned in France. And people really recognize that these grapes have a lot of potential, and that with the French expertise, they can kind of bring them into their own. And then at the same time, the Chilean government has made some changes in the last 20 years that make it easier to get these wines into an international market. Prior to that, the whole thing was kind of a government mess. And so a lot of these wines were just drunk domestically. But now they're making it into
They
markets.
got drunk domestically, or
both.
The
Yes.
domestics
Good
got
question.
drunk.
Yes.
So it's interesting too, because this is the maritime influence of the oceans on all three of our locations are all fairly close to the oceans. So, Arr.
And this climate is warm but not hot. So I do not get any of the green pepper pyrazine situation on this particular wine.
no pyrazine? No.
But
But speaking of the French style, I do get a lot of terroir.
Yep. Yeah, and actually, this is a vineyard where you will get some menthol or eucalyptus on it.
Yeah.
And this vineyard actually had so much eucalyptus planted on it that the winemaker had the eucalyptus plants removed to actually downplay the amount of eucalyptus that was coming through in the wine. And it's actually still out for a debate scientifically about how terroir influences juice.
Sure.
And, winos all have argued forever that it absolutely is there. And this is one of these solid arguments for yes, terroir affects how the grape behaves.
Like if you were on the fence before, this one will definitely convince you, because one of the first things I noticed is that it has a medicinal, herbal kind of aftertaste to it. And it's kind of interesting because of all the three wines, initially I was not so sure about this Chilean wine, but it's got that kind of experience to it, like people who drink coffee or even smoke. Not that it's not that I taste coffee or tobacco, but it's an acquired taste. So it's like the more that I'm sipping on it, and I'm sipping all three completely equally tonight because I don't want to discredit the Chilean wine just because it wasn't the first one that I fell in love with. But I'm liking it a whole lot more.
It's definitely the most complex of the three.
Yeah.
And of the three drinking them right now, I think it's by far the best one.
Yeah. Super high tannin on this, though. It really dries my mouth out a lot.
yeah.
When I first smelled it, I smelled Band-Aids, and when I did it again, it was like total Band-Aids.
Yeah.
So that must be that eucalyptus thing, right?
Menthol. Yeah.
And the kind of medicinal,
Like astringent?
More
Like the
No, more like Band-Aids.
plastic or
like
fake
the
or-
stickiness of a Band-Aid. Is that what you're talking about?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like a menthol cigarette.
It's
But
great.
it's just I keep
Makes me
coming
think of
back to
college.
it. It's like it keeps calling me, and the legs on this thing, they are dripping
It's
down.
like, stop already with those legs.
and
It's
they're
like put some
dripping
pants
down
on
the
those
glass.
legs.
They're so much that they're reflecting in the light onto my paper here. They just look like
yeah,
trails
that's
of
right.
honey
Very thick.
dripping
Cool.
down the
Should have
glass.
pictured that.
Oh, I
What
should.
is the price tag on this one?
This was $16.99,
Wow.
so same as the first one and about $3 less than our Australian one. This is one of those family-owned boutique wineries, and it's just sort of getting prominence. And I don't think probably a lot of people actually would be able to find it. But what I want to leave listeners with is the suggestion that you look into Chilean wines, because every time I poke my head into that country, I'm really impressed by what they're doing. And one indication of how they're just sort of different and new on the scene is their wine labels are always so crazy cool.
This one looks like Chris Pine from Star Trek with
Max Headroom?
like Asian Stonehenge. You seen that?
I see that.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually like a photograph of a cool piece of head art.
Yep.
That's a really good way that you described it, though,
Art.
Jason, because that's totally what it is.
Doesn't it have like that? It's like if you Stonehenged Chris Pine and then made him Asian.
Or like an Easter Island head.
Yeah.
Of Max Headroom.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
Easter Island had
yeah.
not Stonehenge.
Yeah, but still, I know
Because
what
my
you meant.
brains-
A big rock.
Are
They don't
soaked in
work.
cab.
Yeah.
Well, I really like in
much
general about loving wine is this connection between, wine is art, and a winemaker is an artist, and then the labels are a piece of art, and this, I don't know, just sort of that pause, slow down, observe, appreciate,
Right.
all
Yeah, these
parts to it.
not slamming the California. The California is a wine you could slam.
Yeah.
Whoa, did I just say that?
Is that a palindrome?
I don't know.
No.
No.
Oh, no.
Nope, that's not either.
Yeah, that's O and O.
I was actually just about to pour myself some more of this California
But
cab.
the other two, and in particular the Chilean, is not something you would just glug, after work. It's something you want to serve with a meal or bring someone over and have the center of the focus be the wine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tonight we serve polenta with roasted eggplant and red pepper.
And a marinara-ish sauce.
I feel like, especially with this Chilean wine, since it had like my first impression of it right out of the bottle when we first opened it was it had a kind of a heavy, musky, musty, kind of reminded me of like walking into an abandoned barn or something. And so I just see like something with mushrooms in this, like a bolognese or mushroom sauce.
Mushroomy pizza.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I really, of the three when we opened all three, this one jumped out the most to me. And that's just my palate. So if you like jam, then the California is going to be your
savory.
jam.
I was focusing
Yeah.
very heavily on my California wine while we were eating. So this is really the first time I'm tasting this guy, and it's really impressive. I like.
Let's go buy a case.
Yeah.
Yeah, so check out Chilean wines. All right. So we've talked cab.
Could
Any questions? Any concerns?
I'm going to segue something into Star Wars.
Ooh.
And also, since we talked about Australia tonight, the four of us went to see the new Mad Max movie
Oh my
last week.
god, oh my god.
He's going there.
Can I talk? Okay, first, quick poll. Everyone who liked the movie?
Oh yeah.
Like.
Mad Max?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Everyone who loved it?
Loved it.
Loved it.
It was very good.
It was good. I think
It's good. It's
so.
very good. Ow.
Jason and I, after the movie, were talking about there's no, action-wise, this is something that Star Wars could never compare to. However, the more I've been thinking about this movie for like the past week.
Yeah, all of us have.
I've told about 10 people this, that it's like, I've just not stopped thinking about how interesting it was as a movie.
The really cool, and I'll try not to put a lot of spoilers in this if anyone has not seen it, but you should go see it. The way the storytelling was done in this movie was like so unique. That it was so un-Hollywood. Like, I don't know if this would embarrass you at all to say, but like 5 minutes in, Amy was like, I don't know what's going on. And that's the whole point of the beginning of the movie. It's like,
They don't
give
tell
you,
you
like,
any backstory.
they give you 30 seconds of Max's backstory. He's like, I used to have a family, they're dead. Oh, well, here we go. And then he gets captured, and from the War Boys is the name of the guys all in white.
War Boys?
The War Boys, yeah.
They had like the white body
yeah.
paint.
Yep.
The guys chasing him.
Yep.
And in any other movie, he would have been in jail and made a buddy in jail. And then the two of them would have learned about Furiosa and her plan and learned about all the whys and everything. but the way they did it is just like he's in jail. He tries to escape, and all of a sudden, you learn about the world around him. It's more of just immersion in the world, rather.
Right. Like, just sit and wait, and it's all going to make sense. And that's why I didn't keep asking. I still don't know what the hell's going on. Because the longer I watched it,
Slowly
it's like,
unfolded.
And you weren't going to not watch it.
Right.
Because you couldn't look away.
And I have a history of falling asleep in movie theaters, especially during double features after a meal and multiple tequila shots.
That will do it.
And that was a late night, and that was a long day. I did like a 12-hour work day that day, and I was just like,
You did 3
so
tequila
awake
shots in
for it.
10 minutes.
Yeah, you did. You did
You're
a flight.
amazing.
You did an entire flight of tequila shots.
You're my shiro.
And watched
Aw,
the movie.
thank you.
Shiro?
Thank you.
It's like a hero, but it's a she.
Shiro.
Oh, I thought you were saying Shira, and I was
Kind of was
Well, I'm that too.
And Jam. Jam. Truly, truly
Outrageous. Truly, truly, truly a fantasy.
How do you two know the same music all the time?
It's not music.
They're in the same
It's
demographic.
Jam.
Yeah.
It's a
You were
What about
listening to
Scott
Van
and I?
Halen while we were having a life.
That's pretty much it.
yeah. How are those sweep techniques coming along on your guitar?
I'm very good at that.
Anyway, so the Mad Max movie, the key to it is that it was a movie that showed you, it didn't tell you.
Yeah, which I really appreciated because they didn't dumb it down for you. They're like, no, you sit there and you be patient, and it's all gonna make sense.
And they just kind of pepper in little bits of
Yeah.
information as you go along, and you don't need to hear everyone's backstory.
Yeah.
You don't need to hear the whole thing about how did this guy come to power and all this stuff. It's like you get in 5 minutes, you understand he's an awful, tyrannical leader that is brainwashed this whole community,
Yeah.
and they're trying to get away from that.
Yeah.
And what made me excited about Star Wars from this is that I think the new movies are at least from the previews, doing a similar fashion of more showing than telling.
Yeah.
Because like with the second trailer, it's good 10, 15 seconds of silence. And it's just the speeder off in the distance, right?
Yeah.
And you see the big derelict Star Destroyer.
I was really excited to hear that they had those battles in space, you know?
Yeah, that was real.
Real.
Actually, yeah.
But that was to the point. There's like some CGI right in the beginning of the movie, and I don't think there's any. There's so little CGI.
They
In
said
Mad Max.
They
In
said
Mad Max.
80% of Mad Max is shot in camera. So the dust storm obviously is CG when they're in there and the
forgot about
lightning
that part.
storms, right? But beyond that, the CG is just like taking out wires and stuff like that. And I think the new Star Wars will be very similar in that fashion, and that probably is why we hate the prequels so much, is it's so heavily relied on CG.
It's doctored up. It's like Jonas Brothers out.
And it's just talking forever. It's like, I don't give a shit about trade tariffs. Like, I want lightsaber battles. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on here?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if you haven't seen the new Mad Max, I could go on for a good hour about
Yeah.
this movie. But
Well, it's
I didn't
weird that
realize
it's
it.
so
Wow.
enticing that way because even with that show, not tell or whatever, it's not that deep. It's pretty.
Of a movie?
No, I mean,
It's not deep at all.
not at all.
It's
And
the
I-
most basic premise of it, which is
Human
probably why they did
survival.
this.
But I was so amped up afterwards. I just wanted to like punch things.
Yeah, and have like a
Yeah.
mechanical half arm and just
Yeah.
drive a big
For
nasty
days, I
truck
felt
through
I
the desert.
slept at an 11 that night. Like,
and I typically don't like action movies. Like, my favorite movie, like Wes Anderson is my favorite director. Like, and I think that's what's unique about Mad Max. It's as if Wes Anderson directed a action movie, because it's all about the characters, and the scenery is so perfectly put together. George,
it's beautiful.
what's the director's name?
Romero?
Lucas.
No, Martin. Is it? I'm going to be an asshole. I can't forget his name. I think it's George Martin. But the director,
The producer
for
from
Mad
the
Max.
Beatles?
No, Mad Max. Damn it.
Harrison, did you already
Starts
say
with an
that?
R, I'm pretty sure. But this doesn't matter.
George Miller. That was close. He's 70 years old.
7-0.
70.
You better get busy and make me more movies.
So
Stat.
he currently has said that he has 3 more in his brain.
What? So George Miller is 7 years old.
7D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other movies has he done?
Mad Max, Happy Feet. He's no.
Mad Max and Happy Feet are very similar movies.
I mean, it's a spin-off.
Is that that Penguin movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an animated movie.
He's done. I'll bring up his IMDb here.
But you know, you got to pay your dues.
Mad Max is his biggest thing. Babe,
Oh,
Oh my God, I love
Been a
Babe.
vegetarian since the night I saw that movie.
Lorenzo's Oil, Bangkok Hilton, Dead Calm, So he's had a very full career. Mad Max is what he's most well known for.
Ah, Dead Calm. That's the movie with Nicole Kidman, right?
And where is she from? Australia.
Australia.
All comes full circle.
So great movie.
Yeah.
Period. The end.
Period.
Yeah, that is the
And
end.
that was the end of the Wine Wars podcast for this week.
Wait, wait. I had a thing I want to do. Wait, I just happened to listen to a few of our podcasts, and I didn't
Did you like?
Well, I didn't realize that I'm sort of a filthy individual, and that even though I'm a lady through and through, that my mouth is kind of dirty, and it just makes me upset when I think about our moms listening to it. So, I'd just like to put out an apology to Sue, Laura, and Maureen.
I also apologize for Anne.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Mom.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I was raised
Anne has
right.
like 9 glasses of wine, and turns out she's a filthy bird.
Your mom's gonna hear this and be like, Jason, I think you should divorce that woman. This is not who I thought she was.
I think my mom will be cool with it. Hi, Mom. Thanks for listening.
I apologize to your mom too. I don't know. But everyone else, like, whatever.
Get
Yeah.
fucked.
Go to hell.
Yeah,
But my mom.
eat a dick.
We didn't even put the explicit lyrics, the explicit thing on there. It just like pops up when there's more than 9 F-bombs.
Oh no, I put it. Oh yeah. There's an algorithm
Is there an explicit on it?
Oh yeah. I think we're the only wine podcast that's
with an
explicit.
explicit.
You're welcome.
Which we should be in the top
Are we
5
seriously?
podcasts just for that.
Are we seriously rated explicit?
Yeah.
I think
That's you and me.
Exactly.
So that concludes this episode of the Wine Wars podcast. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Wine Wars Podcast. And be sure to visit our website, winewarspodcast.com, to review the wines we talked about today. And we'll put up some fun links and whatnots for you to explore. And if you want to weigh in on the episode or a future one or correct anything we said, please email us at winewarspodcast@gmail.com. And finally, please rate and review us on iTunes.
Please.
It helps us get those numbers, so we'll be the top 5 explicit wine podcasts on iTunes.
I would love it if we could make that.
Yeah, that should be a ranking in Wine Spectator next year.
Because at $0 a podcast, we're gonna be making zeros of dollars soon.
Yeah, I would love to see just a string of zeros. That would be great.
So does
That's
the
our
IRS.
vision board. All right, folks, it's been real. And until next time, please remember,
It's
just grape juice.